First, Azerbaijan started a war. Then, it ethnically cleansed an entire region. And now, Azerbaijan claims that all of Armenia is actually Western Azerbaijan.
İrəvan Azərbaycan torpağıdır. Zəngəzur Azərbaycan torpağıdır. Göyçə Azərbaycan torpağıdır. Bu torpaqlar bizim dədə-babalarımızın torpaqlarıdır, yurtlarıdır. Biz Azərbaycanlılar ora qayıtmışıq, qayıdırıq və qayıdacağıq.
You know, the current Armenian territories was historical Azerbaijan lands.
The so-called Western Azerbaijan Community is an Azerbaijani government entity that claims that all of Armenia is historically Azerbaijani land. The organization officially formed in 2022, but it existed previously under different names. In December of 2022, President Aliyev met with officials from the Western Azerbaijan Community and cemented it as a core part of Azerbaijan's foreign policy.
İndiki Ermənistan bizim torpağımızdır. Və mən bunu dəfələrlə deyəndə sonra mənə irad tuturlar, çalışırlar irad tutmağı ki, mənim ərazi iddiam var. Mən bunu tarixi həqiqət kimi deyirəm. Biz Qərbi Azərbaycana qayıdış konsepsiyasında işləməliyik.
After that, President Aliyev and other Azerbaijani officials cited the so-called Western Azerbaijan Community every chance they got.
İndiki Ermənistan ərazisində, yəni Qərbi Azərbaycanda
Qərbi Azərbaycana qayıdışla bağlı böyük bir festival təşkil ediləcək.
Qərbi Azərbaycan icması olaraq
Territoriya Armeniya, Zapadın Azərbaycana.
Qərbi Azərbaycan icmasının.
But to fully grasp the absurdity of the Western Azerbaijan fallacy, we should look back on what Azerbaijan has done over the past few years. The conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan has a long and complex history. At its core is a disputed territory called Nagorno-Karabakh, also known as Artsakh. In 2020, with the support of Turkey and armed with billions of dollars in Israeli weapons, Azerbaijan launched a war on Artsakh and Armenia. I was on the ground in Artsakh covering the war, and I witnessed the extreme devastation firsthand. The war lasted for 44 days, and in the end, Azerbaijan controlled a substantial portion of Artsakh. The years since have been full of Azerbaijani contradictions. Azerbaijan, despite starting the war, consistently blamed Armenia for the conflict. And then, Azerbaijan made multiple incursions into and attacks on Armenian territory in violation of the ceasefire, again blaming Armenia. It didn't help that global media consistently tried to paint both sides as equally responsible, despite Azerbaijan being the clear aggressor. And if you compared coverage of Armenia and Azerbaijan to the coverage of Russia and Ukraine, the difference was stark. So Azerbaijani aggressions continued. The Azerbaijani government opened Military Trophies Park and filled it with racist statues of Armenian soldiers and captured Armenian military equipment. It wasn't just a display of power, it was a blatant act of humiliation and dehumanization.
Qarabağ Azərbaycan.
And worse, Azerbaijani schoolchildren are taken on field trips to this park, planting the seed of ethnic hatred towards Armenians early. Azerbaijan committed utterly horrific war crimes in the course of its ceasefire violations, garnering little in the way of international outrage. And then, in December of 2022, Azerbaijan imposed a blockade on Artsakh, cutting the one road connecting it to Armenia and depriving the 120,000 Armenians there of access to food, medicine, and essential services. To do this, Azerbaijan deployed hordes of university students from government volunteer organizations to pose as eco-activists, opposing alleged Armenian mining operations. Azerbaijan claimed that these protesters were independent, but in June 2023, during the blockade of Artsakh, there was a real eco-protest in the Azerbaijani village of Soyuldu. There, Azerbaijani police attacked and arrested protesters, many of whom were elderly women. More than 90% of Azerbaijan's exports are tied to gas and oil, making their eco-friendly posturing even harder to swallow. Despite many international calls, and even an International Court of Justice ruling ordering Azerbaijan to lift its blockade, it didn't. The blockade ultimately ended in September of 2023 when Azerbaijan launched new military attacks on Artsakh, ethnically cleansing virtually the entire Armenian population. Despite starting a war, multiple attacks and incursions, a blockade, and the ethnic cleansing of an entire region, Azerbaijan suffered no international consequences. No sanctions were imposed, and after the war in Ukraine started, the EU even papered new gas deals with Azerbaijan, calling Azerbaijan its trusted energy partner. Also, the 2024 UN Climate Change Conference, COP29, will take place in Azerbaijan. This pattern of global indifference to Azerbaijan's bad actions makes the Western Azerbaijan rhetoric especially concerning. The Western Azerbaijan Community, and thus the Azerbaijani government itself, make a litany of claims designed to erase Armenian cultural identity.
Western Azerbaijan. According to this concept, entire Armenia belongs to Azerbaijan, and according to this concept, even Armenians first appeared in South Caucasus in 1828. You know, when I see these kind of statements, the very simple thing that comes to my mind is to go to the ancient maps of Rome, where you can easily find Armenia coming from ancient times. That is why even here senseless of speaking about this, but still it's becoming more and more open government policy.
Azerbaijan isn't just making claims. It's actively pushing a coordinated propaganda campaign to legitimize its Western Azerbaijan narrative.
The propaganda will say that all of Armenia is our historic lands, and they will even publish books to that end. I don't know if you've seen the monuments of Western Azerbaijan, a book. Shall I show you this book?
The man at the forefront of the Western Azerbaijan Community's propaganda campaign is its leader, Aziz Alekbarli, who wrote the book, The Monuments of Western Azerbaijan. He's the head of the West Azerbaijan Community.
Yeah, well, he would be. Map of Armenia, which claims to be the homeland of the Oghuz Turks, presently occupied by Armenia. And Oghuz Turks come from Central Asia.
And it's in English.
It's in English. This book was printed in English, Russian, Italian, French, German. It was distributed freely at all book fairs. All the churches are called Turkish temples, Albano-Turkish temple. Every monument inside Armenia is here in this book.
This was only the start of a growing library of books full of fictionalized claims about Western Azerbaijan. But the propaganda doesn't stop there. Last year, Azerbaijan launched Western Azerbaijan Television, a state-controlled channel broadcasting domestically and streaming globally. The channel produces a variety of content, even a cooking show, Flavors of Western Azerbaijan.
Əsas mövzumuza Qərbi Azərbaycanda məxsus olan ən gözəl yeməklərdən biri olan yay dolmasına tez-tez rast gəlirik ki, ermənilər öz adlarına keçirməyə, öz adlarına çıxartmağa çalışırlar, amma dolma yenə türk sözü kökənli olduğuna görə bilinir ki, bu Azərbaycan torpağına, qədim türk torpağına məxsus bir yeməkdir.
That's right. Azerbaijan has even weaponized cooking shows.
O gün olsun, Göyçə mahalında, Qərbi Azərbaycanda sizə belə necə deyim, gözəl süfrələr açaq.
My colleague, Corey Pop, had the chance to interview the show's host, Vesela Akbarova.
There is an idea to return to Western Azerbaijan.
Я хочу одну вещь спросить, если не сложно. Почему вот, если вопросы по кулинарии, да, я не хочу затрагивать более такие политические вопросы.
Since Akbarova didn't want to make political statements, we can just stick to the things that she said on her show.
Göyçə mahalı, bəli, qədim türk Oğuz yurdu diyarı olduğu kimi və deyərdim ki, əslən Qərbi Azərbaycanın İrəvan şəhərindənəm. Bişirilən bölgələrimiz əsasən bayaq qeyd etdiyim kimi İrəvan şəhərimizdir, paytaxt İrəvan şəhərimiz. Bizim bir çox başqa digər bölgələrimiz, amma məsəl üçün Qafağan, Ağbaba, Göyçə mahalı və digər bölgələrimiz. Onu qeyd etmək istərdim ki, İrəvan kətası bizim mətbəğin, belə deyək, vizit kartıdır. Artıq vətəndən uzaqda da, Azərbaycandan kənarda da çox səs salan, çox diskussiyalara səbəb olan və çox xalqların öz adına çıxmaq istədiyi bir şirinimizdir.
So what does the so-called Western Azerbaijan community actually want? In their English language propaganda, they claim they want to move to Armenia and peacefully coexist with Armenians. But their actual goals aren't entirely clear. They seem to function primarily as a mouthpiece for the Azerbaijani government, pushing whatever narrative serves the state's interests at any given moment.
Ermənilər öz hərəkətlərində, yəni separatçı və revanşist hərəkətlərində davam eləyərlərsə, təbii ki, biz növbəti addımları atacağıq və bu növbəti addımların sırasında da Qərbi Azərbaycan mühacirət hökuməti istisna təşkil eləmir.
Yəni sırf bu istiqamətdə işlər aparırdıq. Yəni hüquq məsələ bir vətəndaş cəmiyyəti olaraq, bir qeyri-hökumət təşkilatı olaraq sırf bununla məşğul idik. Ancaq bax elə dediyinizdən də belə məlum olur ki, artıq getdikcə hardasa siyasiləşməyə bu təşkilatın sanki bir məcbur eləyirlər ki, biz artıq bir siyasətə qarışaq.
And while the Western Azerbaijan narrative may seem absurd, it's a dangerous propaganda tool. Azerbaijan's aggressive actions and demands on Armenia make this campaign a serious threat, potentially setting the stage for future conflicts. And the recent past has shown that Armenia can't depend on other countries to intervene on its behalf.
I blame the West because the West, knowing what is happening, hasn't done anything. For 9 months, Karabakh Armenians were under siege. They were starving to death. What did the West, Europe, America do? Nothing. If you put sanctions on Aliyev and his family and frozen their accounts in Europe, it would have helped.
When we look at the Azerbaijani government's actions and rhetoric, its ultimate goal becomes chillingly clear. Azerbaijan wants Armenia and Armenians to cease existing as a sovereign entity.
Cənubi Qafqazda Azərbaycan torpaqları hesabına süni şəkildə yaradılmış Ermənistan adlı dövlətin xəritədən silinməsi.
From the ethnic cleansing of Nagorno-Karabakh to increasingly bold claims on Armenian territory, the pattern is unmistakable. This isn't just about land or resources. It's about erasing a people, their culture, and their history. And that's why we need to take their seemingly ridiculous propaganda seriously. Because in the hands of an aggressive, rogue state, even the most outlandish claims can become pretexts for very real and very dangerous actions.